Okay, we're at the third recording. We're back from the break. Welcome back. So I just want to address one of the questions that came in that was such a fabulous question. It's from Valerie, who I love you, Valerie, and she's asking about the Mandela effect. And she's asking how it pertains to different timelines, dimensions, and also CERN. First of all, Valerie, I want to let you know that this is definitely something we will be addressing in our Dark Arts training course because it requires way more explanation than we have time to go into here. But CERN is definitely covered, and Mandela effect, we can definitely go into that. But the idea of Mandela effect is that what's happened because human consciousness shifts, human consciousness what it does is when you're shifting through evolution, linear time essentially isn't really real. So what happens is consciousness pops in at any new moment. And from that moment, from that now moment, consciousness expands and receives whatever awareness is there at that now moment. And so the Mandela effect is based in a really true reality that humans remember things differently and they create a new truth based on a new belief system, but it's not the real truth. In other words, the reality changes. In other words, the Mandela effect was created, it was called the Mandela effect because there was a belief that Nelson Mandela, it was named after Nelson Mandela, and that Nelson Mandela died in jail, and people believed that Nelson Mandela died in jail. There was a whole faction of people who really believed that was true, and that was a timeline, actually. That was a timeline of reality. And then there was another timeline of reality where Nelson Mandela did not die in jail, and he was released from jail. And so this concept, like, how could both things be true? How could that have been really true when people really believe that was true? Was that really true? Or was it really true that he lived? Like, both things were true? Which one was true? And how could people change the story? Like, the whole story changed, and it was so dramatic of a change. Like, did he die in prison, or did he get released and die later? Which one was it? So this is where the name Mandela effect came from. But we can see it in modern things, too, like certain parts of the Bible have different stories. There's a famous story about Sex in the City versus Sex and the City, that movie, TV show. You know, there's lots of stories that something has totally changed from its original version, or that two stories are very different. In fact, I had an experience with the Mandela effect as well, where I had hired a technical support person at one point as a virtual assistant to do tech work for me, and somewhere in the 4 years that he was working for me, he took on a belief system that he actually owned my ebooks, my books on Amazon. He actually believed that he owned them, and there was no records of that. There was nothing he could produce in writing. There was no agreement of that, but he actually believed that he had the rights to it. And, of course, Amazon didn't believe. He wasn't lying. He really believed that. This is a perfect example of a Mandela effect, because what happened in the 4 years that we worked together, he just started, because I gave him too much power, which is one of my lessons in life about overgiving of power, giving power away to people who aren't necessarily ready to have it. He actually started to believe that that was his stuff, that he was hired to own my material and to market it, rather than that it's my material that I own and he was an assistant. So it's just a different point of view, right? But over the years, he just started to believe that and anchor it in, so he changed the story in his mind, believing that. Now, how do I know from my perspective that it's true? Because the documentation doesn't support his belief system, right? But in his mind, he adopted a new belief that he really believed. This is an example of the Mandela effect, and it's affecting people all over the planet where their memory changes. In other words, what they believe is true is not really true, but they somehow anchored into some belief system that's in the field of potential that might have happened in a different dimension of reality. So their belief system anchored into that, but they're not on the same timeline where that really happened. In other words, they picked up information from another timeline, another reality. They anchored in that belief system into their belief system, because in any new now moment, their consciousness grabbed onto that. They held on to that, but that's not the timeline that they're actually on. And what this is a fractal. It's a fractal in the human consciousness. In other words, a division in their consciousness because they're not fully aligned with their current timeline. They're not fully aligned in their true reality. They're picking something up from an alternate universe, and their brain is not in a full and complete alignment with their true reality that they're living in, and they don't know it. That is really what the Mandela effect is. And now experts on the Mandela effect may or may not agree with me on this. People are studying it from a left brain linear mind, so they don't necessarily even know or understand how that happens from a metaphysical, spiritual point of view. They don't necessarily I've not studied the Mandela effect people at all. I've not listened to any of them. What I'm giving you is from my understanding from Divine Source. Okay, I hope that helps. I know I've gone over. I wish I could spend more time. I promise you we will be spending time on that in the Dark Arts training class. So, okay. Okay, good. So we're going to go into the meditation now. And I'm going to stop this recording one more time and start it again so you have just a healing meditation. I do want to make, for anyone who is interested in the Dark Arts training class, if you're interested in it, I would be happy to give you guys a special offer if you want to pick up. We're only one class into it. That class is right now priced at $1,111. The most recent discounted offer was $799. If you're interested and you want to sign up in the next 48 hours, I'll give you that $799 rate if you'd like to participate. It's really going to be fabulous. Okay. So you just email us if you want to do that at the $799 rate and pick up. Let me stop this recording now, and let's get into the meditation.